When my wife and I moved to La Paz, we went to the electric utility office downtown 8 times before we were able to get the utility switched to our name. And we had a similar experience for the telephone and the cable and immigration cards. That is not necessary for you to take all of those steps, because now I know that people like Blanca exist. Blanca is my guest today, and she is going to explain how she and other people like her across Mexico help Americans get set up to live in Mexico. And I'm also going to share something about Blanca and some of the cultural issues here, because she is a straight shooter, and that is not common in Mexico. There's a cultural difference between the United States and Mexico. Be sure to stick around to the end of the video so I can explain that difference. So this is the famous Blanca, and there are folks like her around Mexico, and we're going to talk about what she can do to help folks like you if you're moving to La Paz, or other folks like her can help folks like you if you're moving to Puerto Vallarta or somewhere else. So Blanca, thank you for being with me today.
Thank you for inviting me. This is a pleasure for me. Thank you very much.
Sure. Well, let's start out with what it is that you do for Americans and Canadians. So kind of a list of the services that you provide.
Sure. So I provide the customer services. I'm more like a problem solver, but in professional way. So I can help you with some issues with the banks, with government offices, with immigration. There is a bunch of services that I can do, but it's all related with your new life in Mexico.
So this could be things, as she mentioned, like banking and your fideicomiso, which is how you own property in a lot of Mexico as a foreigner. The water bill, that was something I needed a little help with. Electric bill, all these things that in the United States are usually just a phone call are not just a phone call here often. It's usually a process that you have to go through. So maybe you could tell folks how you personally got into this, because you're kind of like a higher level than a lot of folks that might help out. So how did you get into this?
Okay, from 2007 to 2014, I worked in a big bank in Mexico that they have the subdivision of a service just for foreigners.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how, because actually for me it was something new. I had no idea we had that many foreigners in La Paz, and I'm from here.
Okay.
So that's how I started to work with them in the bank. And because I was 7 years there dealing with the foreigners, I found out that it was a lot of necessities from them, because even my clients in the bank, they were asking me to help them in the afternoon to some other issues or the weekends, and I was doing that. When I left the bank and I went to another job, some of my clients were still contacting me to help them, especially with the bankings, because nobody was helping them anymore. Everything was in Spanish, everything changed, they had no any help. So that's how I start to have the idea of have the services just by my own business, but to try to help them in more than just one thing, more than just banking. So in that case, I could take some more services, and my clients doesn't need to go from one person to another. So that's how I start. And actually a few of them were asking me to do this kind of.
And this is something about folks in Mexico, is if there's a need, someone will fill it. Someone will create a business. It's very entrepreneurial here. And I think the other thing to mention is that Blanca just finished law school too. So she can help you with just about anything here. If you need changes to your will, or like your fideicomiso, which is how you own property, has a beneficiary, and if you need to change that person, it's all very technical, and it's all a process. For instance, when I opened a bank account here, it took about 2 hours, and it took 2 visits to the bank, and there was a problem with my cell phone. You really need a Mexican or a Mexican cell phone or a chip in your phone to be able to open a bank account. And I didn't have that. And someone like Blanca could have told me to get that. In terms of, like, I'm with Banorte. They send you text messages to confirm it's you, and they have an app and whatnot. If you use an American cell phone, it just doesn't work. So there's a lot of things like that.
A lot of things, because you just get into Mexico. You got a property. You are so happy. You just want to go and do decoration in your property. But you need to set up all the different services, and you have to spend a few weeks doing everything. So I helped you to do that, so you don't have to be worried about those small things. that takes you a lot of time. And it's not just that takes you a lot of time, it's that sometimes you go and you don't even know what to do. Why? Because the process in each office is different. So it's a nightmare for the clients, it's a nightmare for everybody to do all that kind of thing. So what I'm trying to do is that you can enjoy Mexico, that you can enjoy La Paz, and do it as easy as I can for you. And if I'm not the person that can help you in certain process, I will put you in the direction of the correct person too.
There's also Baja Paperworks here in La Paz, which I think helps more with immigration. So there are some specialists here that will help you through the process. Maybe you can give us a tip for people who are like, you know what, I am going to do it on my own. I did all of this on my own. I can't believe it took me so much time, but it was interesting. And I speak a little better Spanish than I did then. And if you don't speak Spanish, it adds just a whole additional level of confusion, because here in La Paz, it's the state capital. A lot of folks don't speak English. So if you're going to these offices, do not expect people to speak English. You might want to just take a translator along, or someone like Blanca can just make it happen for you.
Yeah, but it's not only the language problem. The
Yes.
thing is that the process can change all the time. So
Yes.
even if you go and just speak the English, because there's many Mexicans that go too,
Yes.
and whenever they want to do something, they don't have the property papers that they need to show up. They don't have enough information. So we are talking that some of the persons of the foreigners can have the two problems: the
Yes.
language, plus that they don't have the whole movie of the process. So those are the two problems that you have.
Yes, and actually this is a great example. To get your electric account at the beginning of 2021, the process changed and you had to have an RFC number, which is like a social security number. So I made a video about how to get that social security number, RFC number online. And everyone was loving that video because it was so helpful, because it was so confusing. And then 3 weeks ago, the process changed and you can no longer do it online. So now you have to go through another process. And someone like Blanca, she's helping so many people. She knows that the process changed and can give you the most up-to-date information. So if you're just going to a website or even a YouTube channel, the information, even if the videos or information is just a week old, it could be too old here in Mexico. There's a lot of process and it takes time. And working with someone who knows, even my real estate agent didn't know in January that the process had changed. And he was like, okay, you can go change your utility this way. But the bank was saying that I couldn't, but I was like, is this a language barrier? What's going on?
And they don't explain you. When you go to the offices, they just say no.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you have to
And
do
you don't
this.
even know
They don't
why.
say, yeah, it just changed, so things are new rules.
Uh-huh.
So,
That happens very often.
so Blanca, I'm going to press you. One piece of advice for Americans who just want to do it on their own. What's that one piece?
Proud to be very patient. But sometimes it's not because I want you to contract my services. You can do it by your own. Just at the risk that you can have sometimes is that you will lose more time, or even with the immigration process, sometimes if you don't do it correctly, you have to pay twice, because there's a way to do it. There's a way how to be doing the payments and everything, and sometimes because you don't know exactly how to do it, you can pay twice, and it's a whole process to get the money back.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it will take you more time than just contract somebody to help you since the beginning. And it's just you can contract somebody else to do it, but let's recognize that sometimes we need help. I have been living in other countries, and I was needing some help. It's
Yes.
difficult to know how to be doing everything at the beginning.
So that's a great example. Not only have I spent a lot of time going through these processes, but I also have spent money, because I went to the municipal office downtown to get what I thought was one piece of paper to be able to change over my water bill. So I needed something that proved that I own the house. And that got translated into something that cost about $30 worth of copies and was 100 pages long, notarized and whatnot. And I was like, what is this? And it was just a copy of my fideicomiso that I had already paid for. So this is a great example. It could have saved me all that pain. I had to go back there twice because it takes a long time to make all those copies. So there was a lot of process. I paid. I should have been paying for, really, I already had what I needed. I just needed to get it from my real estate agent. I just needed him to hand me the piece of paper. Lesson learned.
But at the end, whenever that you are learning, you're already tired, you are
Oh yeah.
frustrated, and you can just do it in an easiest way.
Yes. And also, one thing is always bring your own copies. So whatever you need, bring extra copies because they don't make copies for you here. So if you go into a bank or, you know, to get your phone changed, they need a copy of your passport. You don't hand them the passport and they make a copy. You bring in the copies with you. So always have lots of extra copies with you.
Yeah, and they don't take anything from the website. I mean, sometimes we should just show the ID or anything in our cell phones. You know, in the Mexican offices, you need to have copies and show it in original.
Yes. So Blanca, what do you charge for all these wonderful services?
Okay, it's different. It depends on the project. Whenever the foreigners contact me, I have a few questions first for them. Why? Because everybody has different necessities. So it's not the same when I'm gonna be doing some paperwork for a corporation that I'm gonna be doing it for a physical person. Why? The other one will need more time, more paperwork, more process. So it will depend sometimes. So it's per project.
You mentioned when we were talking earlier, like the water situation. So it took me a long time and some missteps to get my water bill into my name. But you were saying, you know, there's different ways to get a water bill into your name, depending on what the status is now.
Yes,
so
yes.
give us that example.
Yeah, somebody can tell me, okay, I need the water. Okay, what do you need? Change the name or a new contract? So my next question is if they say it's a new contract, there is no services. Okay, it's you already have all the paperwork. What do you have? Because sometimes even for me, I go to the offices, I have all the paperwork with me, but there is an issue with the builder that I cannot do the contract until the builder helps me to do something and they provide me some other paperwork.
Yes.
So that's the kind of situations that sometimes it's different for everybody.
Yeah, or for instance, if you needed to get the electric into your name, you may or may not have your RFC number, which is a whole different process and a more complicated process as of 3 weeks ago. So I guess the point is, if you're working with someone like Blanca, contact them, explain your situation, so that way they can kind of create a price for you based on all the different, you know, things that you really need to get what you think you need. So.
Exactly. Yeah, because sometimes you need the change of the CFE, but now you need to be resident in order to get your RFC. That's something important. If you are tourist, you cannot get an RFC.
Yes.
So some of my clients, let's start from there. So we start from the immigration process first. Later we get the RFC. Later we change the CFE under their name. So each client, it's different.
I think there's a lot of things where you might be told, no, you can't do that, that there is a way to do it. It's just a different way. So like a bank account, like, can you get a bank account as a tourist? Yes or no?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
With the Apple Pay Bank. No, with all the banks.
Yes.
Some banks still allows you to do it. Some of them no. So I advise you which one. And also I will advise you to, depends on what you need. If you only need a bank account for pay your bills, if you are interested to get a different kind of investments, term deposits, a stock market, if you wanna have a corporation, so it depends of the necessity again of the person. It's my advice and is where I will take you.
Great. So how do you folks get in touch with you in particular? And the next question is going to be, how do people get in touch with people like you if they're in a place like Puerto Vallarta or Cancun or something? So start with you.
Most of my clients are coming from recommendations from my previous clients or lawyers or another workers that I'm related with that they recommend me. Thank you to all of them. And also by the website.
Okay, so you have a website. So we'll have a link to the website down below. And also, I'm going to answer my own question here, I think a little bit about how to find other folks, because I just heard of Blanca by word of mouth. All the Americans were just saying, Blanca solved my banking problem. She solved my fideicomiso. She solved some problem. And so the best way to do that, if you're not in Mexico, is to go to a Facebook group that is connected to the area you want to move to. So if you're moving to Puerto Vallarta, there are Puerto Vallarta Facebook groups. Usually they have the name of the city and the word expat in them. Here in La Paz, local La Paz expats is a great one. And you could just put in there saying like, hey, I need someone to help me with all this stuff. And people will recommend the people they've
I think
used.
actually that will be the best one, because even if you can Google somebody, you will not have references of the person. So at the end, it will finish in the promotion by mouth and mouth. Because if you go to a foreign country, it's very difficult to trust in just somebody that you find online.
Yes, definitely. And you also, seems to be when you post a question like that in one of those Facebook groups, people answer with different names. And I usually go with how many people answered the same name. So how many people recommended Blanca as you go down, and how many people recommended Baja Paperworks or something for whatever you put in. And I just go with whoever got recommended the most.
Yeah, or you can compare, because sometimes you can like more one than the other, and that's how it is.
Yes, that is true. Yes.
Yes, and we're not like, I don't see like competitions, because we know it's everybody. La Paz is a small town.
Yes.
So many times we work together also.
Yes. And Blanca also often does come with your 5-year-old daughter, Scarlett.
6 years old.
6 years old. She is also famous in La Paz as the cutest little 6-year-old. Yes. Well, thank you so much, Blanca, and thank you for watching. If you have any questions, put them down below, and I will make sure that I will connect those with Blanca so that she can help find answers.
You can find me very easy on Facebook, like Blanca Corral del Castillo. That's my Facebook, and it's very easy to contact me. So my WhatsApp is also there, so it's easy.
Wonderful. Thank you. So hopefully Blanca came off as the straight shooter that I promised at the beginning of this video, and let me explain why that is important. There's a saying in Mexico that mañana does not mean tomorrow, it means not today. And it's a cultural thing that people don't want to disappoint you, so they will essentially tell little white lies to make you happy. So for instance, Blanca was talking about a point where the government had changed over and she couldn't get something stamped, and something that usually takes 1 day took 3 weeks. And if you were to go into the office and ask them, they would give you the polite mañana, come back mañana, and you'll be able to get your stamp, because that's what you want, is you want it the next day. However, when working with someone like Blanca, who works with a lot of foreigners, a lot of Americans, and knows how Americans like to receive information, she will explain, government changed over, new person hasn't stepped into the role, it's probably going to be 3 weeks to a month, and she will just tell you that because she's worked with enough foreigners. And that is something that's very refreshing to Americans down here, because of the way we are conditioned to work with other people when it comes to those expectations that we have. And I have another video for you about ATM machines and the fees that are charged in Mexico, especially if you don't yet have a local bank account, which someone like Blanca could help you with. You could be paying an awful lot in fees, or you could be paying a little. This video will help you find out which one you're doing.